So hi again, everyone. Today is January 12th of 2022. The time is now 3:30 p.m. on Wednesday. Want to wish everybody a happy new year. This is the first time formally we are together. I also want to acknowledge and thank everybody for being here today, especially the senators and our guests, the FA board and others that will join in the conversation today that is really important for our college and our faculty in particular. So I will share my screen so that we can all take a look at today's agenda. Highlighting one of our academic Senate community values that the senators created 2 summers ago together is a way that I always start our meetings off. So for those of you that haven't attended very many Senate meetings or it's been a while, that's why I'm doing this. They are all here on each and every agenda for everyone's review, and I always pick one to highlight. And today I'd like to highlight number 1, which is say it in the meeting. We want to create an atmosphere for open, honest exchange. If something is bothering you and you are open to sharing, please share it with the group. Speak to your discomfort. Often our emotional reactions to authentic exchanges can offer valuable learning opportunities. As members of the Academic Senate, we need to be willing to be uncomfortable in the work at this table. Also acknowledging that a lot of us are exhausted and raw, and we are in a really weird place still as a society. So yeah, just naming it, speaking it out loud so that we can all process today's meeting as it happens. I'll talk a little bit more about how we can focus our energy in today's meeting when I introduce the agenda item. So Zoom meeting guidelines, they are what they always have been for us senators. Other than invited guests and senators, the only time non-senators and non-guests can speak is during the public comment time. I ask everybody in the meeting to remain muted so as not to interrupt. If you want to speak during the public comment time, and or are a senator or guest and have something to share, please raise your virtual hand in your Zoom meeting controls, and then I will call on you and unmute yourself to share. So today is a special meeting. So the agenda only has one item, which is to discuss the temporary move of online instruction. So unless I hear otherwise, I will assume that senators are accepting the agenda as posted and distributed, which brings us now to item 3.1, our time for public comments. So anyone is invited to give public comments. You don't have to be a faculty member. We do have a time limit of 3 minutes. If you would like to provide public comment for Senate's consideration, you can do so at this time. Please know that while it would most help us to focus on today's agenda item, that public comments can be addressed to the Senate about anything under our purview. So if there's anyone here that would like to provide public comment at this time, can you please raise your virtual hand? Hi, Laura. Thanks. You want to give public comment?
Yes, please.
That would be great. Thanks. Go ahead.
I just want to voice that I am extremely frustrated, and I thought really hard about this because I voiced it to my mom and my husband and my sister. And I thought, you know what, I probably should bring it to where my concern is and not just to the people I see every day. But I counted this morning, I've worked for 10 different institutions between 4-year universities and 2-year colleges. And I love that I get to teach in Santa Barbara, but I have to say, I am so deeply disappointed at every school in our stone's throw in every county near us made decisions well before the holidays of going online, of doing all this. And the fact that this was made in the not even the 11th hour, but the 12th hour. And you know what? I'm very lucky. I have a beautiful home and supportive family. I don't have kids. Like, I can flex and I can do this. And it's been pretty easy for me. But I know that many of my colleagues who have kids, and just watching what my sister's going through with the school system and the testing and the chaos that's happening there with unified school, like, you know, Santa Barbara City College is supposed to be this pillar. And I have to say, like, we keep saying we're going to get our administration and our leadership right, but like, bro, get your shit together. Like, this is just, I'm not okay with this. And I love these people that I teach with. And I sent out these kinds of emails at the end of last semester that I really am very lucky to be here. But like, I don't understand why we have to make these decisions at 12 o'clock midnight. I got an email on Christmas Eve saying school was being pushed back. Like, that's not appropriate. Like, I don't know. That's my frustration. I know that a lot of people have it, but we need to be much more proactive. So that's my piece.
Thank you, Laura. I appreciate you saying that and being here. We will definitely think about your comments as we proceed in the meeting. Sally.
Let's see. Can you guys hear me? Because I'm on my phone.
We can, Sally, thanks.
Okay. All right. Hopefully you can't see me, but because I'm wandering around outside right now, we have a worker here. But I actually wanted to just say briefly, thank you to you, Rayanne and Cornelia and others who have responded last minute, and especially after Monday's announcement that sort of threw quite a few of us off, which didn't allow much choice for faculty. So thank you very much for being on it and giving up your time too. You and Cornelia especially, because I know you made sway. You did your job and made some little last minute changes yesterday, which were a pretty big deal. So I know we're all frustrated, like as we've just heard, things just changed so quickly. I told someone I have to go see a chiropractor with all the pivoting and changing direction I do. So I'm mentally challenged like everybody else, but thank you again, and keep up the good work.
Thanks, Sally. Kind of you to say. And yes, you acknowledged Cornelia. Cornelia and I have definitely been working together a lot, which has been good. Yeah. So thanks for that. Any other public comment at this time? If not, the Senate will move on into our conversations. Okay, so I'm seeing none.
No.
Right along, item 8.1. So at this time, I'll need to update our agenda with the most recent email our president superintendent has sent out, updating some information about allowing asynchronous teaching during this remote time, and some updates to which classes must go online and some other modifications. For those of you that weren't aware, actually Sally Sanger, Cornelia, and myself had been meeting with other constituencies, leaders, and president's cabinet about, let's say, beginning of December, mid-December, after the break, after the holidays, and in dialogue about planning for the semester, the spring semester, and to start. So Cornelia, myself, and Sally were there representing faculty, and we were giving feedback, and then Dr. Murillo was very clear with us that the final decisions would be made this Monday, and they were sent out. And obviously a few of them were different than Cornelia and myself especially, and as Sally as well expected. And as such, Cornelia and I plan to get faculty input around this meetings today, but also we met with Dr. Scott and Dr. Murillo clearly they were receptive to some of the updates that we needed to make on behalf of faculty. And so that is why changes were made. What is other background information that I want to share with you all? Yes, I would really appreciate an update about this item in particular. I was not aware that the moving online would definitively happen, nor was I did not realize that if classes were moved online, they would be synchronous. One of my biggest concerns as of this past Monday was actually that we still had approximately 800 students that hadn't uploaded their vaccine confirmations yet, and were still on our rosters. So I would like an update on that. I was told that it would happen by this Friday, although I was of the opinion that because I was told that it would happen on January 4th and didn't, that I wasn't confident that it would happen. And in my assumption that teachers would have a choice in modality, I was very concerned that we would be made aware of that, just so that people could make an informed decision about their modality. And then for all intents and purposes, by and large, the choice of modality was essentially taken away by instructors. So I'd love an update on where we're at with that. Modality, of course, I think is important to just share with everybody in the meeting. Modality is part of curriculum, it's part of pedagogy, and clearly under 10+1. So the fact that I was not part of that planning or that decision, I think is a conversation that we need to have as a governance body. And then also this meeting is about all things that we need to think about as faculty moving back to classes next week, Tuesday. So I met with I met with Senate steering earlier today. And, one of the things we talked about is how do we have a productive meeting today? Acknowledging that having a product at the end of the meeting is not just one of the goals of today's meeting. Clearly, we don't want to have, meeting time together with so many important people at this critical time of planning, just to have people, let's say, complain or vent, but also acknowledging that that is a need that many of us had. I feel very similarly to Laura. I am absolutely exhausted and drained, and we haven't even started the semester, right? And that's not necessarily unique to SBCC. I think a lot of us are raw just by living right now. So I'm sure there's a million things I should say and haven't said yet. I really want to open up the conversation to everybody here. Couple more things. Different senators represent their divisions, and acknowledging that all divisions are so unique and have unique circumstances. So acknowledging that Russell Granger is here, who's department chair of automotive, right? And so he's going to have a different viewpoint than Ellen Carey, representing library faculty. And it's my understanding, and she can speak to this, that library faculty are still in conversation about opening or not and planning on that. The FA is here, who represents our working conditions. And so I would just really appreciate all of us to recognize that we all have different places to draw upon in today's conversation. And one of the products, if we can get a product today that I would really appreciate, and I know Cornelia would appreciate this as well, is what do we need between now and Tuesday? What else does faculty need? What still needs to happen? One last thing, I want to acknowledge the administrators in the room. Dr. Murillo is here. She arranged her schedule so that she could be here. Of course, Dr. Scott is here with us, and there's many others in the room as well. So obviously a lot of people are here listening to what faculty have to say and share. So now's the time to do exactly that. So with that, I'd like to kind of open us up and say, who would like to start us off, and where shall we go from here? please raise your virtual hand. And maybe I can ask, okay, Dr. Maria wants to go. And I was going to say, and maybe a good starting place too is to get the most updated number of students that haven't uploaded their vaccine cards that are still on our rosters for us as well, just in case that 785 number is completely out of date.
Okay.
Dr. Maria, go ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And so I thought you said originally that you wanted kind of an update on where we are on everything. So I felt that I should go ahead and raise my hand and we could provide that because Dr. Scott will talk about the students and dropping, and because she's been working hard on that. So with that said, I do want to acknowledge the constituency leaders. They worked during break, they worked before break, and they worked last week with us to try to come up with a recommendation. The original recommendation that we as a president's cabinet came up with was to actually go online. That was somewhere in the end of December, or I don't know, middle, somewhere in one of those meetings. And we met with all the constituency leaders and we walked out of the room with the agreement that we would delay the semester 1 week. And I believe that was pretty well across the board. I don't think there was much dissension around that. And we felt like it was a good recommendation in the end. So the president's cabinet did take that recommendation and we've been working with it. The thing that I think is really important at this moment in time and Friday, and I really do appreciate the frustration. I think we are all frustrated because we were planning to move forward with our schedule as planned, but 1 week late up till we started seeing we were losing enough staff that we could not staff certain areas. And that became the driver Friday because we were trying so hard to stay face to face as much as we could. And we were recognizing there were people begging to please go online because of their concerns. And that was when I sent out the note to the constituency leaders and said, we are making a decision on Monday. And I'm probably going to be recommending that we go online. And I would say this, there are a lot of colleges around us right now who have not gone online. And I've checked those, I checked them daily. So I recognize that the universities did, but colleges are making different decisions everywhere. Ours was based ultimately on a couple of things. One, we did not have the staff to support bringing everybody to the campus and open up student affairs and the facilities, everything. We've just continued to have like all of these people be exposed, and they're not exposed at the college because they're not here. The other piece is, so that was tough. And then we started really running the numbers on how many people we're going to have to test to meet what I ideally would like to have in testing. And I really appreciate Cornelia and her focus. It's laser focus on testing to accommodate that testing. We can only get so much testing right now, and only so much is available. And they have to staff the tables. We've already seen long lines, and if we had opened up and had the number of students that were prepared to come to the college, we would have had lines of employees and students. And we would have ramped up as much testing as we could. You can only push the vendors so far right now. And that is one of the facts that we're dealing with at the moment. And that was why I said the piece about capacity for testing, because we have testing. and to take in that many people with the kind of infection rates we have, and we can't even control. I have to tell you, I used to love contact tracing. Contact tracing is no longer a good tool. So I think those are important facts for everyone to know about what's happened. We really tried. Now, the last piece I will say is that we made a mistake on Monday and we admitted it, and I take ownership of that. I should have gone back to the constituency leaders after the final recommendation and hashed through some of the areas that have been concerned. In meeting with Rayanne yesterday afternoon, I feel like I've been doing this forever, sorry, and Cornelia, I think there was a very, very good conversation around why Rayanne was concerned about the Synchronous. And I believe Dr. Scott and I really understood that well. And it's all housed in the idea of student success. And so we changed our recommendation on that. And Cornelia continues to fight for choice for faculty. And we moved that so that if people really want to stay face-to-face, they have that option. So that's kind of where we are with everything. We're trying to give as much choice. I'm getting emails by the minute from students, faculty, and staff. And I would tell you, I get emails from students saying, thank you, I appreciate it. I would tell you, it's probably, from what I can see, about 80%, I really don't want to come back to the campus right now. I don't want my family exposed. And 20%, this is not good for students. And then I get emails from faculty telling me, thank you, we appreciate that you are moving online. And I get other emails that are, why are you doing this to us again? And I will tell you why I'm doing this, because I'm concerned about the well-being of our faculty, staff, and administrators, and our students. So I'm here to listen, I'm here to understand concerns, and that's where we are at the moment. And I try to make sure that we get input on everything we do. So I'm going to turn to Dr. Scott, and she can give us kind of an update on where we are and what we're doing at the moment.
Thank you, Dr. Murillo, and nice to see all of you here today. This has been a difficult time for everybody, and President's Cabinet met over the break more times than I have ever met over the break about anything. We met constantly talking about all these things over and over, testing, the concerns that were being raised by students and going to student services, students who are afraid, students who are trying to switch their classes to online. We met continuously. We tried to focus on the needs of the campus, and like Dr. Murillo said, the health needs of our faculty, students, administrators, staff. And we tried to think of this in terms of the students. We really, really did. And I don't want anybody to think otherwise. I mean, I have a long-standing relationship with faculty, and I don't try to make decisions that upset the faculty. And let me just go through a few things here. One, in regards to the update on the students who are unvaccinated or don't have an approved exemption, the number was about 1,200 at one point, just shockingly high, frankly. And it's down to about 730 right now. We are going to start dropping tomorrow. They will be dropped in the classes that will be face-to-face starting Tuesday. They will be dropped before then. The reason there was a delay is that we had an error in the numbers. And the error had to do with the way some of the hybrids were coded. And so we kept getting responses from students saying, I'm only in online classes. Why do you keep telling me you're going to drop me out of my classes? And it was to the point that it really concerned us. And as it turned out, if we had dropped people with that error in there, we would have inadvertently dropped between 150 and 200 students who were only in online classes. And then we would have had faculty upset with us because they lost students in their classes and maybe lost their classes entirely for low enrollment. So it was the right decision to wait. It was never our intention not to drop them. Could we have been clear about the fact of why we had that delay? Yes, but it was never our intention not to drop them before the beginning. We've already got student services that is ready to start dropping now. Students were given a new date until the 12th to get their records in, at which point they would be dropped. At this point, with the changes that we've got, and I haven't even had a chance to talk to Dr. Murillo about this, if students are now going into classes that are online and they are not going to have any face-to-face classes, we want to push off dropping them, because this is over 700 students. The ones that we want to prioritize right now are the students who will in fact be in those essential labs, the classes that were listed on that email that Dr. Murillo put out, and to add in any classes of faculty who are teaching lecture, who want to teach on campus. We need to make sure that we've taken those classes into consideration now. And that list won't even be complete for a little bit yet still. But student services personnel are prepared to work to drop starting tomorrow at some point, Friday, and they're working Saturday and Sunday to drop. And this is in the midst of student services having many, many people out for COVID right now. And Dr. Murillo's right. If we were to ask them to open right now, they wouldn't even be able to open. I also wanted to talk just a little bit about the synchronous, asynchronous, because I know that created a lot of dissension. Coming from another college, I didn't have some of the background about how people felt about synchronous here, and it kind of took me by surprise, to be completely honest with you. In my conversations with other chief instructional officers throughout the state, and no, I haven't talked to all of them. I haven't done a survey, but I've talked to a number of them. They are requiring synchronous because it's a temporary move, as we wrote in the email that went out this morning. It seemed to us that going synchronous was more of a student-centered decision. That may have been incorrect, but that was our thinking. And it's all explained in that email. It's more like an in-person experience. It provides students, in some cases, and these are students that signed up for face-to-face classes, and we don't know why they did, but they may have because they wanted the structure. They may have wanted to have more interaction with their faculty, other students. I met with Allegra, our ASG president, earlier today, and she said, there's so many students here who have no friends. And I wrote that down because it really hurt me to hear that. And I think that's why we got some of the results we did on some of those surveys, where students say, I don't know any students. I don't feel I have a really close relationship with my faculty member. I don't learn well on my own. So, I was thinking of those things as well. And, these were students, again, that chose face-to-face. So I'm hoping, while faculty absolutely have the choice, as Dr. Murillo put in her email, we hope that people will consider synchronous, because I worry too that if our goal is to get back onto campus and we've changed a lot of our classes to asynchronous, the students may come up with they may take a job during that time frame. They may think that time frame really isn't what it was. And we may lose them, and we may lose them because they don't like online. I think back over the re-enrollment campaign we had just before the break that was so hugely successful. One of the things we were saying to students is, we have classes, on campus, please come back. And I don't know how many of those students then signed up for face-to-face classes only to have them now go remote. And please understand that it was not our goal for it to be that way. We wanted to be back on campus. We worked so hard with the Academic Senate, Rayanne and Cornelia, to try to get more classes back on campus. So this wasn't what we wanted. We just, again, when you keep hearing all these people are sick, student services all across the campus, people are sick, it just did not seem like a reasonable decision to try to bring everybody back to campus. Some will disagree with us, some will agree with us. No matter what we decide, there'll be a lot of people who are not happy. So that's, I think, what I have to tell you. One other thing I did want to say, and I know that Rob Brown is here, and I met with him earlier today, and he walked me through a lot of the training that he's developed, he and his team have developed to try to help faculty who want to go synchronous. And I really do appreciate that, you know, everything from how to do a Zoom well, to how to create groups, to how to do some type of a flipped classroom, how to use PlayPosit. I really did appreciate that. And if you haven't looked at his email and some of the videos that they're creating, I mean, they're working all the time right now, trying to make as many services as possible for faculty to whatever their choice. I hope you'll look at it and work with them. They're prepared to talk to you. You can reach out to them. And I don't know what else I can say, but we tried our best, and I know we made some mistakes. I am regretful of that as well. Some of it is simply because Dr. Maria and I haven't been here very long, and there's just cultural things that we don't understand. Thank you, Laura. I appreciate that comment. We're here to answer questions. I will stay and certainly answer anything I can answer too. And I'm happy to listen to concerns, complaints, whatever it is you want to say. I will be here to listen.
Thank you so much, Dr. Murillo and Dr. Scott. I know everyone in the meeting probably appreciated hearing that. Probably a lot of it was informative for them, as it's hard to keep up with so much information coming at us all the time. So now that we have that from our president superintendent and our executive vice president, I'd again like to open the floor to our senators, our FA executive board, for a discussion. Ruth, I see your hand up. I'd love for you to start us off. Ruth?
Yeah, a question for clarification. Dr. Scott, you mentioned that you asked us to identify classes that were going to be fully face-to-face so that we wouldn't drop those students. Does that mean we're going to do another sweep again 4 weeks from now and drop them then, because we're going to come back to in-person?
Yes, and what I'd like to do, if possible, is what we did previously, which was give the, and I need to talk to Dr. Murillo and PC about this, but give the names of those students to the faculty, so the faculty know who won't be able to come back, you know, who will be dropped, and those faculty can help us the way that they did the last time. So that would be the goal, and I'm assuming that we can do that. But sometimes the students, you know how they are. I was a student. We were all a student. We procrastinate. We wait and wait. School's not starting tomorrow. I don't need to update it. I don't need to upload it until tomorrow. And we have sent so many emails. We've done personal phone calls. We've done everything we could possibly do. The fact that there's still 700 is just really, it's really quite upsetting, frankly. But yes is the answer to that question.
No, I appreciate that. It's definitely the case. I do think it's important though, you know, something I'm participating in this LBCC curriculum audit that Kathy actually hooked a number of us up with so that we can bring it back to SBCC. Sorry about the noise in my house. We continue to live remote and childcare and all of those things. One of the key takeaways from that was like student deficit language, like they're not motivated for my class versus what am I not doing to motivate them for my content. And so I know we were all hands on deck, so to speak, for getting the students' vaccine cards uploaded. And I certainly have my private opinions about that. I do also think that it's important to recognize that we know emails don't work to our students, and so we keep doing that. And so I do think, not placing blame on any individuals, but I do think that as we move forward outside of the COVID pandemic, we do need to think about effective communication to our students. it should be a multi-pronged approach, and email and phone calls shouldn't be the only one. So I do think that as an institution, we have to own some of that. And I think that we also have to own that we had a vaccine mandate start on October 1st. We did not originally adhere to that deadline and it got pushed back. And so I feel as though the Herculean effort it took to get it, and then it came in the middle of fall semester, and a lot of switching back and forth also allowed people to procrastinate around that one. Maybe I'm on an island about that, but I don't think it's just that students are delaying showing proof of that. Also, one more thing, I feel very strongly, I am very worried that we will not get these students dropped by next week. I also disagree that we purposely didn't tell people. I asked Monday for faculty to know, assuming that we would have a change in modality option coming towards us. And I said that we needed to know about the fact that there are still students on our rosters that hadn't been dropped, because our previous communication would be that they would be. And I thought that people needed to make an informed decision about their modality. And I was told that it would happen and that we didn't need to tell faculty this. And I do think it's important also to share that I was told that it would start to happen on Wednesday. And now it's going to start happening tomorrow, which is Thursday. That is not me placing blame. That is me saying, these are the facts. And what are we going to do about it now that we're in this situation of literally 2 days to drop these 730 students one by one, by hand, manually, with student services being out. We can't staff student services, but somehow we have the staff to pull off this very labor intensive thing. That's where my lack of trust that this will happen is coming from. And I think that that is important for me to say in this meeting with so many faculty present. So we have Russell, and then Robbie, and then Dr. Scott.
Hello all. So for me and my division, we've largely been face-to-face, pre-vaccine, make it up as you go along with disinfecting and distancing and solve the problem kind of thing. So here I am, we're starting again, and kudos to all who have worked so hard. How do you hit a moving target? I read the newspaper every day, and every day it's something different, and it isn't predictable, and it isn't something we can plan on. So for me, I'm more of a how do we solve the problem on Tuesday kind of guy, simply because we couldn't hit a stationary target. I think it's just unreasonable, no matter how hard you work. There isn't anybody in any institution that seems to be nailing it. So with that said, two things. One, to speak to what you just went through, Rayanne. I have a unique situation, and in my division, we have small class sizes, and we have some pretty personal relationship with our students. We tend to see them again and again. It's amazing how many times I had to work individually with students and with the COVID committee to get them to upload the documentation that they had. If they had been dropped, we would have lost them. So speaking from a personal standpoint, putting it off as long as possible gives the students the necessary time and again, the procrastination, and sometimes their hands need to be held. You know, they're forming, they're becoming adults, and not all of them have the time management and the skills necessary to navigate what is a very complicated situation. Which brings me to the question I started with, is on Tuesday, I read all the emails. I'm here over the summer and I'm heavily confused. I'm sending off emails to those students who check their emails, but my experience teaches me half of them won't. So they're going to show up, vaccinated, unvaccinated, documentation uploaded, not uploaded. Some might not show up and think we're online. It's going to be confusing. So what is my message to them? One, where do I direct them so that they can get the COVID test that needs to be within the 7 days? One answer I'm not clear on is, does it have to always be every 7 days? And does it have to be good for those 7 days? When does it have to be done again? Right? To keep showing up. And as we check in, as we direct them, right? My experience has been, we say we're going to have some check-in stations and they will be manned at a certain time or woman. That hasn't necessarily held true. It might be later, it might not be there that day. And it creates its own barrier to students getting to the classroom prepared for entrance. So a very clear in an email somewhere, you know, on Tuesday for in-person classes, this is what the expectation is. This is the date. This is the timeline. This is how often students will need to get the test. It expires on the 7th day, or it has to be in the last 7th day. Some kind of clear, hard, you know, sheet I can hand a student and just say, here, this is what you do. This is where you get it done. If you hit a barrier, I'll be here to help you. And I've done it. I've phone conferenced with, you know, COVID Central and the student and the documentation. And we've spent 20 minutes after class getting it done. And I've done that twice. And in a classroom with 24 students, that's almost 10% of the time. That's, you know, it's significant. So anyway, that's what I would like to take away from this meeting. Thank you.
I have that down, Russell, and I fully expect to get that to Joyce Coleman and the others. That seems like an easy thing, you know, something that we can point to get, you know, to say we got this, and now everybody has it and everybody is well informed. So thank you for that. I should also share, Russell, I hear you, giving the students more time means that less of them will be dropped. The counter argument was also made back in December when we were looking at the January 4th deadline, that actually the sooner we drop them, it might be more helpful, because then they will have known why they were dropped and they can re-enroll, they can apply for the exemption, right? So that was giving people wiggle room. There was also students wiggle room. I also understand this idea that it's not so obvious, which again goes back to the communication. How are we telling them that they need to be doing this? Clearly, our original efforts weren't that effective. The other thing I'd like to share with you was, I understood the January 4th deadline, or the day we committed to withdrawing the students that hadn't done that yet, because financial aid checks were being cut. And I was part of the decision to move the semester back by 1 week, as I understood it then, because that doing so would would alleviate some of that problem as well. So I just wanted to share that so that you know that that was part of those conversations, that there is this opposing argument that doing it earlier rather than later would have helped as well. So, you know, those are just opinions, and you can go back and forth on that. I think, though, the crux of the matter is, for myself, as somebody who is agreeing to go back face-to-face with a 4-year-old and an infant in my house at this time of health uncertainty, I was agreeing to do so because we have a mask mandate. We finally have a really good one, N95, right? And we had the vaccine mandate. So while I understand the different issues with getting people vaccines and the vaccine mandate and everything that is around that, I felt as though I was making an informed decision to be face-to-face. And regardless of the topic, we were told this will happen on this date. And for really good reasons that have been explained, it didn't happen. But I felt as though all of us were not having an informed decision anymore, that was being taken away from us. It's one thing for me to know, oh, we didn't get to it because we couldn't. So just so you know, it didn't happen. And now you need to decide, versus we're going to get it done, even though we said we would get it done before. We're definitely going to get it done this time. And let's not tell anyone so that we don't cause, people to get grumpy about this, because it's definitely going to get done, but it didn't get done before. So I don't mean to harp on that. As you can tell, I have a lot of emotional energy around this in particular. And I tried explaining that to those involved in that discussion on Monday. So I'll stop on that for now. Robbie?
Some of the things I was going to say have sort of already been said. I've been taking notes, but I want to start out by pointing out that the fact that we have vaccine and mask mandates is great. I was one of the people arguing for it. I am 100% happy about that. And even though we have that, there are so many breakthrough cases with Omicron, and the argument that cases are milder with Omicron holds no water with me, the microbiology professor. 10% of 1,000 is 100. 1% of 1,000,000 is 10,000. So the fact that the fewer people are going to be hospitalized is irrelevant if you have many, 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 many more people getting it. Things are not better now. And I want everyone to remember that. Okay, so the questions I was going to ask were about dropping unvaccinated students. I don't think this is going to be the last semester we have to deal with that. And so I wonder if there isn't a way to just not let them register in the first place. Or to drop them within a day or whatever. We do that if they don't pay their bills.
I asked that, and we don't have the capabilities to do that.
Okay, but then I just have to strongly agree with you, Ray, that the sooner we do it, the better, because it gives them more time to compensate. And then I want to know if there's a way that it'll happen in a more timely way in the future. I hope so. And then I also had questions about the status of our testing requirements, and Russell sort of touched on this a bit. I've been surprised how little talk there is about that. I believe it was mentioned once in the middle of a really long email from Dr. Coleman, and that's all. Nobody's announcing it. Nobody's talking about it. We have to get tested like now for next week, right? So I'm a little surprised that there isn't better communication about that. And I would not be surprised at all if a whole lot of people show up on Tuesday going, what? I didn't know that. So I want to point that out. And I wonder, Dr. Murillo, I have a question for you. You were talking a minute ago about the fact that there aren't potentially as many tests as we wanted and as many people to staff the stations as we wanted. Does this mean we're going to be relaxing the testing requirements in some way? Okay, those are all my questions.
Can I answer that one?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm good to answer that one. No, that was part of the decision to go online because we did not want to lessen them. In fact, if I had my personal way, I would have increased the testing requirements because I think they're really important in the process. And we finally agreed on once a week. You have to have a test 7 days or less. And so as we see next week occur, we will probably have some pretty significant lines. I would expect it because we gave everybody till the end of the week to have a test done. And that was in response to trying to get people to the campus to do that. So no, I do not anticipate lessening any requirements. In fact, I think we've strengthened them, and we've strengthened the mask mandate.
So will different communication, better, stronger communication be coming out around where people are to go? Okay, so that is to come.
You should actually have a update. Joyce sends out an update every week. I thought it went out to all campus on testing, on COVID, it comes out every week, and it should be out tomorrow morning if I'm correct. So she tries to keep it on the same day. And it's usually pretty informative. I found it to be, and we just actually sent her a chat and asked her for the handout for faculty that was requested already. So we're trying to make sure those things are there. We sent out an email to the students today telling them they have to be tested, and here's what you have to do. Employees have to be tested. So be candid, this is the first I've heard people didn't feel that they had enough information on it, because I've been watching these emails go out by Joyce and her team. So we can ramp it up a little higher.
So I'm a fan of the newsletters. I'm a fan of her communication. I think one thing would be really helpful for faculty who at SBC, and now I love my email. I feel as though I'm addicted to it. My relationship with my email is a little unhealthy. Anyone that has been receiving emails from me in the middle of the night knows that. That being said, a lot of people have much healthier boundaries with their email, and a constant opinion on campus is that faculty are inundated with emails and there's too many, and they just tune out. I would strongly recommend a single email. You must be tested before coming on campus. Like, no, not a whole bunch in the email because people won't read it, but people need to know that single command is needed. I don't think people engage too thoroughly with some of the emails that come out, even though they're high quality.
I would just note, I have spent the last 3 weeks dealing with student emails. It's been really fascinating how many students respond to our emails. So yeah, I just want to say that I'm really enthralled with these emails they send me, the questions they ask, their opinions, how respectful they are. So I just want to share that with you. It's been, our students are awesome.
Kathy?
Yeah, I wanted to
yeah.
answer. I wanted to answer your question about that we were supposed to start dropping students today, and now it's tomorrow. This afternoon, I got an email from Paloma saying that we were able to separate out the students who will be completely online from the ones who will be on campus in those essential labs and other classes. I didn't think that we had the bandwidth for that, but we do. So I wanted to wait until we could get that separated before we started dropping students out of the wrong classes. So I asked for a slight delay, and that was me, and I did it this afternoon. I've been texting with Paloma, and they are the A&R people are going to be spending the evenings and this weekend dropping. They will start tonight. I have told them to go ahead and start tonight with the students in the essential labs, prioritizing those because we know that those students will be on campus. And then we'll wait for the other ones because we know that faculty are still making the decision in some cases about whether or not they're going to be here or not. So I just wanted to answer that question. And also about testing, and I will not claim that I am the world's expert on testing here, but in terms of Professor Granger's question, we have been looking at how we're setting the timeline to make sure that it really is the 7 days, so that students come back on a day and they're like, they're not able to get in. You know what I'm saying? Because it's been 6 days. We've been working with that, and we do have to set it a little bit beyond 7 days so they don't get stopped. And another thing that's really important about testing, because it's going to be, we don't want these lines, we're trying to stagger the testing. So we don't want everybody testing on Mondays and Tuesdays, for example, like all the Monday, Wednesday students. If they all come and test on Monday at 8 o'clock or 10 o'clock, we're going to have these giant lines, where if we can get some of them to push over to Wednesday or midday on Wednesday, we're going to have fewer lines and in a smoother process. So I hope that makes sense. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. Before we move on, I did have a question for you. You know, as Academic Senate President, and I'm trying to figure out how to say this. A complaint, I just have to live by my own Senate values. As Senate President, I hear often, and it's not unique to one dean, that the deans are not available, they're not communicative, we don't hear from them. They are a black hole of information. And as I sit here in this meeting, this very important meeting with faculty concerns 5 days out before the beginning of the semester, I see no deans in this meeting. Is there, are they otherwise busy? Maybe, I mean, not that you're the keeper of the deans. Well, I guess you kind of are, you're the EVP, but is there, like, were they told to stay away so that faculty had a space today? I'm just wondering what is more busy, or what is more important than hearing from faculty 5 days before the semester starts, as the people directly over faculty?
Well, firstly, no, I didn't ask them to stay away. And secondly, I know that they are busy. They're working with their department chairs. They're trying to get that list together so that we can post a list of the classes, you know, which ones that were scheduled to be on campus will be on campus. They've been tasked to do that. They're answering a number of questions from faculty. They're trying to talk to faculty. If there's specific cases where deans are not communicative, I would appreciate knowing that. You certainly don't have to tell me now in front of everybody, but if there's situations where people are not, they need to be more responsive, then I would appreciate knowing, and please let me know offline. But no, they were not told. I know that they're busy. I know they're busy right now. And if I'd have known that you specifically wanted them, I would have told them to be here.
Yeah.
So maybe it's my fault to not tell them.
No. I guess what I'm asking for is, you know, we constantly talk about a vacuum of leadership on campus. Laura said Laura took a page out of my book and said, bro, you know, get your shit together, like, to the college campus. I get that they're busy. Trust me, that is, you know, faculty on Wednesday before we're opening up Tuesday, when we all just flip-flopped modalities, like, we get busy. I would expect our deans not to have to be told, maybe you should come to the faculty senate meeting today out of all day. Also, I will send an email to department chairs or faculty, inviting them to let you know about what deans have been not communicative. I do think it's important to say that it's pretty much across the board. As department chair, I've received one email from my dean over the last few weeks, and it was yesterday. And it was encouraging us department chairs to encourage our faculty to let students know that we were, you know, changing modalities and things like that, which I will be honest again, was not appreciated by me because the college had not informed students yet. So I really did not appreciate hearing from my dean around that issue, and have not heard from my dean on other issues. It's also my understanding, sorry, Ellen, I'm going to say it now because it's in the context of this conversation, that library has had conversations with their area dean. They have not, and yet they're supposedly opening, but none of the library faculty have been involved. This is not unique to one dean. So I think that's important to say. And I also want to point out that the Senate, multiple ways for over a year, have been trying to manage up to deans, to president's cabinet, to vice presidents, that communication is not great on this campus. In the fall, I was accused of being, quote, mean to Vice President Lindsay Moss because the Senate literally agendized her not reading her emails. After a Senate discussion, we took that to CPC in October. In October, a decision was made to create a work group around communication. Cheryl Brown and others were emailing earlier today, as they have been once a month since that decision was made to create a work group. And the work group hasn't been made, and we don't need a work group for emails. We need people to read their emails and respond, and we need clear, constant communication. I feel like the things we need as faculty should be ever evident to those above us. Like, we need clear and consistent communication from our deans. I get to see my dean as a department chair once a semester, and that's about it. I think I've said that all I want to say around this, because I don't want to seem like I'm hammering on this. I know Ellen will have more to say, but I do think that it's important that the Senate, myself, other faculty that have the ears of those above us have been discussing this for a very long time, and it doesn't seem like much changes. The idea to create a work group around communication was not an idea I supported, was not, in my opinion, a good one, and nevertheless, the solution we were given. And that hasn't even been executed yet. And I get that other things are important, but I think the reason why that we're in this meeting today is because of failures in communication. So I do think that we should start prioritizing exactly that, and do it sooner rather than later, because it is crippling us as a college. Ruth?
Yeah, so I will second basically everything you just said about communication as well. And I know we're in crisis mode right now, but I am going to ask the administration that once we, this first week passes, that you breathe for a heartbeat and then you get right back on it, because we're supposed to be back in 4 to 5 weeks, right? So we need to make sure that that the communication improves, that we have all the testing issues sorted out. And it's a very short time frame, right? So it's not even get started, maybe like ventilation issues that may need to be addressed from here to then. So that's one thing. The other thing is the list of these students. There's most of us are going to go online. So I imagine for those classes, you said you're not going to drop them. Can we get that list? How soon can we get that list? Because although faculty aren't obligated to do this, I'm sure plenty of faculty, because we care about our students, would be willing to start communicating directly to our students if we get that information now. Also, we want to do this before the drop deadline, which for most of us is the end of January. Because it would be totally unfair that we pass that first drop deadline, students come back, and then we kick them out of our classes. And then the last thing I want to ask about is for the large lecture classes, and this happens to apply in particular to social science, and I think as well to many classes in the sciences. For the people who are supposed to be there once we come back to help us, 15 minutes prior to the start of class, and then stay until 5 minutes after to check wristbands. I guess right now, maybe you can put a pause on that, but I will say that I have not heard anything about that. So had we gone back to class on Monday, that still had not been communicated to us. So let's make sure that's not the case when we do come back in a few weeks. And also for those large lecture classes that potentially are still meeting, right, especially in the sciences. They need to know soon.
Ellen.
Okay, a few things. Yes, Ray, everything you said about communication, I share those concerns. And I do think it leads to the lack of trust that you mentioned earlier. In my experience, I'm not the library department chair, Sally Chua is, and I know she has more contact with our dean than I do. But my understanding is that that is nearly always initiated by our having to hound our dean for information and or to express our concerns. And that's been a frustration throughout the pandemic. I'll say, you know, just as far as this week, we have not been directly communicated with about the library's opening at all. Like, we learned on Monday from Dr. Murillo's email that the library is to be closed. And then I'm getting texts today during an FA meeting that other administrators told faculty leaders that the library was going to be open. And that is then being shared with other faculty. And this is all in the absence of communication with the library faculty. That is of great concern to me. And it's not just this week. It's in a larger context of, we're one of the places that was one of the busiest places on campus prior to the pandemic, with maybe the exception of the campus center. There were, at our peak, we would have 6,000 people through our gates in a day. And granted, it's we were open 3 days a week in the fall, and our numbers were much, much smaller, obviously. But we do have I think it's an important space. And it's important for us to be, the library faculty and staff, to be involved in figuring out how and when to open that space in a way that's safe and serves students effectively. And just so, I know this is all very library specific, but I think this is a good illustration of part of our frustration that leads to faculty feeling like our expertise as people who work directly with students is not considered or not respected. We worked with the LRC in the fall to coordinate open hours so that Monday through Thursday, one of our 2 spaces would be open. Now, we provide different kinds of academic support to students, but we both provide study spaces, Wi-Fi, computers, printing, those kinds of things. So we wanted to maximize the availability of those spaces for students. So we coordinated with them. Before, you know, everything changed with Omicron, our hope was to be open 4 days a week in the spring, including one evening, which I know is the goal for student services as well, and also for the LRC. We wanted to coordinate that so that the LRC would be open a different evening than us, so that we could maximize that. We were told we weren't allowed to do that. We were told we had to be open on Wednesday nights so that it would be consistent across campus. How is that serving students? And that's my frustration, is that we work directly with students. We hear from, I know Dr. Murillo and Dr. Scott, I know you get contact from students too, but we're hearing from students in our daily work every day about what they need. And we are, I guess what I'm saying is, I want you to trust faculty that we have students' best interests in mind, and we are doing our best to provide them with the best possible education that we can and the best possible academic and student supports that we can. And when we're, you know, we work out a schedule, we're also operating at only 75% of our normal librarians and 50% of our staff right now. And we are, you know, putting all the puzzle pieces together to try to work out a schedule so that we can serve students most effectively. And without any explanation, we're told, nope, you have to be open the same evening as the LRC. And that just makes it's demoralizing. It's demoralizing. So that's kind of a moot point for now, at least for the next 4 weeks, as we're trying to figure out how to do something differently. We're still trying to coordinate with the LRC, but we're also, I feel like the deans it's 2 different deans for those areas. I'm not sure there's good communication between them. It just, a lot of this comes back to the same communication issues that Ray was talking about earlier. And then that extends to misinformation being directed to the campus or to students, and then frustration being directed back at us that like, well, I was told the library was going to be open this time and not that time. And it's just not good for anyone. So, so that's one piece. And another thing I just wanted to say, and I think this probably applies to other ESD areas, especially, is mask enforcement, which I think is especially important now that we know how important it is to have well-fitting N95 masks. There were times when the library was open in the fall when there may be 25% or more, 30, 40% of the students in there not wearing their masks. And it should not, we were promised almost a year ago, last spring, when we were preparing for possibly coming back face-to-face last summer, we were talking about the need for some staffing for mask enforcement in those spaces where someone comes through the door, but then is not, you know, in your classroom where you would, as the instructor, see everyone facing you and can enforce that masking easily. We needed someone to be taking responsibility for that so that the faculty and the staff in the library could be doing our actual work with students. We have never gotten that. And we, you know, so we will step away from the reference desk, leaving that unattended if someone needs research help in the moment periodically, so we can go around the library and enforce mask use. And students come sit down at a study carrel, take off the mask. So I'm concerned about that, both in terms of how can I do my job helping students with their research when I'm the mask police instead. But also I don't want the library to become a super spreader location, because that is being overlooked. And we have, you know, everything happening when they come to campus and get their wristband and get their tests and everything, and then they come in the library and sit down and take off a mask. And I also think it affects my relationship pedagogically with a student when they see me as the enforcer rather than the helpful person who can help them with their research assignment sitting at the desk. So there's that dynamic too, because I don't have the same one-on-one relationship built with a classroom full of students over the course of a semester. So I think those are just, sorry, I've gone on and on, but those are some of the concerns that we're facing in the library as we try to serve students effectively.
Ellen, thank you so much for all of that. Again, you represent a unique area for faculty for sure. And I think the need to share all of that here is important because of that lack of communication between your dean and the library, right? So I just feel as though that is a common theme. Kathy, I do know that you wanted to speak to one of the points that Ellen.
Yes, I'll be quick. That's why I have my hand up. We did not think that the library would be able to be open once we saw the number of cases that were coming. But then Sally reached out to the dean and said, we really do want to open and we want to try to coordinate with the LRC. And the LRC staff, for the most part, do want to come back and try to keep a space open. And the last I heard, which was earlier today, was that the dean was going to work with the dean of the LRC to try to collaborate so that we could have one or the other open every day. So that's the last that I had heard. And I know that Sally did reach out to the dean and that they were in conversations as of yesterday and today. So I don't know whether it's gone down to the librarians yet, but
No, that's my understanding as well. And I guess my frustration is that we had to do that reaching out, and and we were not through this whole process of figuring out how to manage face-to-face versus online instruction. I feel that spaces like ours are often overlooked in that process. And it wasn't until Dr. Murillo's email came out on Monday that we didn't hear anything from our dean before then. There was no, like, what do you think will best serve students? What are you willing to do? Until an email went to the whole campus saying the library will be closed.
Okay. All right, I understand.
That's my main concern. And then, so our response, I mean, we had an emergency department meeting yesterday to figure out what we could do. And that's what precipitated Sally's communication with friends.
Okay. All right, I wasn't aware of that. All right, so I only knew part of the story, so I don't have the hours. I don't know when the LRC will be open. I don't know exactly when the library will be open, but I do appreciate the goodwill of the faculty who want to try to keep it open. It's just been such an important thing for students, as we've heard at board meetings and everywhere else. So yeah, whatever, you all can do and are willing to do, I am greatly appreciative. And I'll just say one more thing and then I'll stop talking. But Ruth, I did hear you about the large lecture. So I will be on that. I know, actually I don't know. I don't know how many of them will be going forward in a face-to-face capacity. I just don't know. But if there's any, we will be on it for Tuesday. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Kathy. Jenny.
Thanks. Just a question from someone in my division. For students who may not even be on campus, they're online, but they want to come to campus, whether it's to do things like use the library, the LRC, or to do something quick, like pick up a Chromebook, a hotspot, food distribution, books at the bookstore. Will all of those students have to be tested as well, even for quickie things like that? For example, getting bookstore books. And how can we even message to our students about testing if they want to come on campus for quick things like that? I'm sure like we might be needing to direct students to hotspots, pick up Chromebooks. They want to get books in person, but they don't know about testing, or we don't know enough about testing. How's that going to work for quick things like that?
Can I try to answer that? Right. This is something that we're discussing because we've also got prospective students, parents of prospective students wanting to come into areas like student services, and we don't know their testing status. We do ask for their vaccine record or a recent test in order to get into the building. But we need to talk about whether, if you're coming to get a Chromebook, a hotspot, can we do it outside? Can we do these, how many of these quickie things can we move outside so people aren't feeling that having untested people is going to make them uncomfortable. So those are things that we're still working out, but where we can, we should try to move that outside. And we've talked about that with the bookstore. We've talked about it in terms of basic needs with students that need to come onto campus and get food. We do know that this is an issue, and I hear you, and I'm sure Dr. Murillo's here and she hears it too. But yeah, it's for people who are coming onto campus, like if you don't have any classes, but you want to come onto the library or the LRC and study for a couple hours, you're going to have to go through the testing protocol because otherwise you won't get a wristband, so you can't get in. But if you're picking up something really quickly, you may not get a wristband, and we just have to make sure that we have all those things figured out. And whatever we can, I can see Ellen nodding, however we can work collaboratively with the faculty to get this done as easily as possible for people coming in quickly, we would appreciate that.
I'll just add on to that. One of the things that I think a lot of us found very effective in COVID is drive-throughs, if we can do those. And those are really useful and helpful. Our resolution is very clear. If you are outside and you are in an open space, you are not required to be vaccinated or to wear a mask. We do request, and it's clear about that, if you are in an area where there is an instructional program going on outside and it is together, then you should wear a mask. So this is something we'll work through with all of the staff members on this, because I have a huge concern that we stay within our resolution, which says you do not enter a building. I told the board president he couldn't even enter the building without a mask and a vaccine card. So I think we have to try to make sure that we do that, because it is part of the requirement that we put forward, and we're trying to make sure we enforce. So I think often I hear this, well, when you come on campus, do you have to have a vaccine and you have to wear a mask? I'm like, no, the resolution very clearly says when you enter a building, you have to have a mask on and you have to have a vaccination. And I have another couple of things that I want to talk about, but I just wanted to give you what my viewpoint right now, Ginny, on that is.
And if I could just jump in for a second, the library has been providing Chromebooks to students who are unvaccinated through the curbside thing, like all through last semester, and will continue to do that.
Yes, thank you.
I'm sorry, Rayanne. I'm sorry. Just one other thing I forgot to answer that Ellen raised. And you're right. You're not the mask police. I will look into that for getting people in there to rotate periodically and go through. You're absolutely right.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Anna?
Hi, everyone. I guess I want to start off just by acknowledging that most of us are starting the semester burned out, including our students. It feels like there's no right answer as we're making these decisions. Inevitably, people are going to be upset. Either way, right? Whatever decision you make, you should be prepared to know that people will be upset about it. I also am sensing a lot of defensiveness when people share feedback. And I'm not talking about just in this meeting. And I think we all just need to remember that we're all trying to make the semester safe and successful for all of us. So yeah, I guess I want to encourage folks to sit with that and consider how we are responding when folks are sharing their perspectives, and not listen to respond, but listen to actually hear what people are sharing and the concerns that they're sharing. Because as Rayanne said at the beginning of the meeting, all of us come from different lenses and have different experiences and different contacts with our community and with our students, and all of it is valid. I also want to just also name that I know more people in the last 2 weeks who have had COVID than I have known the entire time that the pandemic has been going on. That's, for me, puts it in pretty significant perspective that this is a totally different beast that we're dealing with. And whether people are vaccinated or not, we are all out here existing in the greater community. And I, for one, just want to say that I'm glad that we've moved toward a decision that helps to protect our most vulnerable community members who are often being told or being touted, including by the CDC, as expendable because they were already unwell or sick. That is disgusting, and we should not be operating under that circumstance. I also want to name that I wish the decision had been sooner, as it was very predictable with the data that we had in mind or at our hands. Many other schools made the decision in December, that would have given people a lot more information and time to plan for all of the things that they need to plan for as things shift. It also has been frustrating to navigate as a counselor, helping students getting registered for classes and not being able to tell them what to expect. The schedule isn't accurate necessarily because the dates were wrong at the beginning of the semester. Then we were in person, but we weren't in person. Then all of the communication that comes out is a big wall of text that not everyone has the time or capacity to read as thoroughly as it needs to be read. And so I do think that there's clearly a lot of room for improvement regarding our communication, both amongst ourselves and our colleagues, and between the institution and our students. I wish that we could explore more relevant and new media, like a lot of other campuses are doing. When I worked at Oxnard College, we had a TikTok account, we used our Instagram, and a lot of students watched it. It was in digestible bites so that students could capture the highlights of the critical information that we need, and not forcing them to dig through an email that's 2 pages long. While super helpful and important for us to be able to have that information, not everybody's reading it. And then that means that people aren't reading just the little tidbits that are critical, like our testing processes, or possibly the vaccine mandate piece and the requirement of uploading it. The process of doing that feels somewhat confusing. So I feel like there's definitely room to improve in all of that. I'm also wondering if, as part of, I guess I don't know at what point this would make sense, but creating an opportunity to assist students in person with the uploading would be helpful. At this point, I guess it may be too late since the decisions have been made and we're scheduled to be dropping folks tomorrow or Friday or whenever they get dropped. But I just, yeah, I wish that there had been more text messaging, like ways that our students are actually getting information. And then I really just wanted to amplify the point that Ruth made about the dropping and making sure that we're trying to aim for the deadlines that are least impactful for students, so that they're not being withdrawn from classes and getting a W or FWs because of some administrative reason, whatever it was, whether it was on our end or their end, and when it could have been prevented. So I just hope our students don't get punished because we know there's a limit on how many times they can take courses. Sometimes that course could be their last attempt, and that could have a very significant impact on the student. And I also understand that there's petitions that can be filed, but that is another barrier that students have to jump through, that students have to be informed about, that students then have to figure out how to navigate. And so I think it would be best to try to avoid that. And then finally, just thinking about Russell's point about how confusing it is for him, I'll agree for myself, what all the requirements and expectations are. I think it would be really helpful to have a very concise graphic that just shows clear data and tangible data. I'm picturing something like, if this is the first day that you got tested and have a date, then like have a column below it that says these are all the dates that you should plan to get tested, so that it's very clear and there's no room to, question, like make sure that you get tested at some point before this date, and just put it in ways that is digestible for people to take in those quick moments that we have to check our emails.
Anna, thanks for all of that. And Kindred, I definitely see your hand up, and I want you to I know you have a response to some of that, probably. Also acknowledging the time, acknowledging that so many people in this meeting have to get their Canvas shells and syllabus and emails written to students. I'm not going to admit where mine are right now. So our meeting today goes until 5:30. We haven't heard very much from the FA, so I definitely want to invite them into the conversation as well, or other senators that haven't had an opportunity to speak. Also, I want to point out that we've been focusing a lot on operational things because we need to. And Senate is 10+1. Senate is curriculum. Senate is professional obligations and duties of faculty. So with our last few minutes together, if we could come back in that, thinking about what faculty might need to get the job done by Tuesday, I think would be really helpful for me as Senate president. So just keeping that in mind with our last, 20 minutes or so together tonight. So Dr. Murillo, go ahead.
Couple things, and it wasn't in response necessarily to Anna, although most of what Anna says, I usually agree with. And so the things that I wrote down that I felt were really important to say to you was, number one, I would appreciate being invited to Academic Senate more. I stay away purposely, even though it's a public meeting, because I try to make sure that our faculty have a venue to be able to talk without feeling that the president's in the room. But I'm always happy to be at Academic Senate because in some of the colleges I've worked at, I was on the agenda and in the meetings a lot. So it feels a little weird for me right now that I'm not here very often, but I do it out of respect. And so I would like to have more time to hear from our faculty. So anytime, or you want to have some special sessions once a month or something for communication, I'm really open to that because I like hearing from faculty. The other issue I wanted to, somebody said something about trust. I have spent most of my last 4 months saying, I trust faculty. I trust that you are with the students. I trust that you understand the students. I never pretend to be the person that knows them. I hear from them, I question them. And I've always had this concept of trusting faculty. I was a faculty, so I like to make sure that people know I lead with trust first. I don't lead with distrust first. That's just not how I operate. So if I appear defensive, I apologize. I'm trying to go by your Senate rules, which is speak my truth, which is to make sure that the information that I know and have documented everywhere in the world is out there. And so I'm always happy to come share it. So please know that. I've taken a lot of really good notes today, and I appreciate all of the suggestions. We've already acted on some of them, which I think is important because there was some really good stuff said about what we need to do. The communications task force will get going after we get through this crisis. We're still working on our return to sort of future of work task force because we've got to find a way to work with people in the new era after we emerge, or as we emerge, or we'll be in COVID for the rest of our lives. I don't know what that looks like. I have no model. So with that, I think, and I agreed with Dr. Scott about the mask enforcement. So I appreciate all the feedback I heard today. I'm going to run to a 5:15 meeting when that comes up because I do have another crisis going on. So I know that you guys don't know, but I have a life that absolutely is constantly changing in front of my eyes because of student complaints, employee complaints, issues that come up. So it's not that I don't want to be here the last 15 minutes. I need to deal with this issue. So before it gets any worse. So thank you for inviting. Appreciate it, Rayanne. And thank you for a very respectful forum where we could get feedback and hear from all of you. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us today, Dr. Murillo. Margarita?
Margarita, you're muted.
Margarita, did you hear me call on you?
Okay, thank you again, because this has been very hard, and all of us, I seen the Faculty Association and the Senate, especially our leaders, working so hard, and I can barely keep up with meetings and emails and everything. Let me tell you that I have been learning a lot, and I just have but appreciation for, every day for what they've been doing. Ryan, I just don't know how you wake up every day, but I do appreciate so much how much you work and how you keep you cool and guide us all through all of these. I have to say, really, really thank you to Kindred and Kathy. Thank you so much. We have great leaders. And I just have to say one more thing. We're so lucky to be in Santa Barbara and to be here. In Mexico, things are not that good. I'm from Mexico, and Mexico is the #1 country with deaths in the world. And we have, several deaths in the family. I just want to say that. And it is really hard. We are really, really lucky here. And we have leaders that work for everyone's safety, and they work for everyone's safety, for everyone's benefit at work, for everyone's, in every single detail, and listen to us and work so hard. I've seen Cornelia, I've seen Ryan, meetings in the middle of the night, meetings at 6 a.m. in the morning. I'm like, what? I mean, were we doing this in the middle of the night last night? And then it's 6 a.m. in the morning, and the email is right there. I promise you, I'm not kidding. They don't sleep. I don't know how they do this. And, and like that, they have been taking care of all these things, and we should appreciate that, because it's about our safety, our well-being, our jobs, and our students and everything. And just the way we care, and I've heard everyone cares about their students, their work and everything. I know the students will be okay. The students will be fine, because we are fine, and they will be fine, and everything is going to be okay. One more jump, hang in there. We're almost over. We're almost over, and we're all fine. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. Hang in there.
Thanks, Margarita. Yeah, great perspective. I do think it's important, though, to point out that a lot of us aren't fine. We aren't. There's people in the room that have lost people. There's people in the room that have been dealing with a lot. I tried to impress upon Dean's Council Monday morning that this vaccination uploading cards thing might be the thing that made faculty really push over the edge. I didn't even know the change in modality was coming. I haven't been good this week. I have lost sleep all week. I'm exhausted. I'm really mad. Really mad. Really, really mad. And my Canvas shell is not ready to go for Tuesday. So while I appreciate that everybody has different circumstances and we're almost there, we're almost there in an ultra marathon where we are all bonking, for those of you that know that reference. At least I am. And this week, the decision to change the modality and then to change back, this has been a lot for us. And perhaps other people have it worse, but that doesn't change the position that many of us are in. And as Anna pointed out, many of us are dealing with people we know that are sick and loss, grieving, all of that. So there's things to celebrate and there's things to mourn. And I think that both need to be acknowledged in this meeting. With our last 17 minutes together, can I pull us back to that idea of what do faculty need between now and Tuesday? Other than more hours in the day. Ruth?
Well, I certainly can't say what all faculty need, even within my division. But I would like to request that deans reach out to their faculty, because some divisions have not heard, as we said earlier, at all. And I know it was in the emails about reach out to your deans if you have issues, but if just for our faculty to hear directly, this is how you reach me, here's a Google Doc or a form, or here, I'll list all these things in our solutions, whatever it may be, just so that faculty, we're not just texting each other trying to solve things when it could be centralized, and maybe if it's addressed here, someone else sees it, okay, it's already been fixed, this is what's being done about this particular thing. Especially because we as senators, we can't possibly know everything, our faculty, the needs of all of our faculty.
Yeah, thanks for that. Other considerations that we can address in the last few minutes. It's asking a lot, I know. But between now and Tuesday, I know the FRC is pushing out content all the time to get people software support they might need, technical support they might need. Thank you, Rob. Thumbs up. Anything else that needs to be said for the good of the group at this time? If not, we can certainly adjourn. I gotta order my Los Agaves. It's Wednesday. Okay. Unless anyone else has parting wisdom or a last minute thing that they would like to share, I would like to invite somebody to make a motion for the Academic Senate to adjourn this special meeting. Before somebody does that, I'd like to point out that thanks to the Title III grant and the support from Dean Elizabeth Imhoff, Justina Buller, and I will be co-chairing a faculty inquiry group this semester as a place for faculty to come together and figure stuff out. As you recall, last semester, the Senate was charged a few times with endorsing syllabus language or providing support in some way or asking administration for support in some way for all of the different scenarios that we were facing for our students. And the Senate was not the body to be able to do that for a lot of good reasons. And so the FIG was born out of that conversation, and I put the call out today. So it's going to be led by Justina and I, and it's going to be a really great opportunity for faculty to come together in community. It's going to be a really great idea to share what's working in your class, what's not working, to kvetch, to sympathize, to support each other. And my idea is that the faculty that are participating in the FIG aren't just benefiting there and sharing their experiences and receiving experiences and good practices, but then also formally and informally sharing that out with your departments and divisions. And I know some of you are thinking, oh, you know, I don't have the bandwidth for that. I have all of these other things to do. I get that, but the idea of the FIG is that this is going to be time very well spent. So if you haven't already let me know that you're interested, please let me know. Please encourage the faculty in your departments and divisions to do that. So we'll get started in February, which I know feels like eons away, but that's when we'll get kicked off so that we can all figure out these first 2 weeks and then get that going. Vice President Garcia.
Yeah, I feel like there was a lot of requests that were named as folks were sharing their concerns, but I just wanted to make sure that we didn't lose what I felt like was a important one, which was I think some communication to faculty around status updates about students being dropped, so that they can plan accordingly, I guess. And then for me as an ESD faculty member and counselor, I think some clear communication that helps me help students understand how to start the semester and what to expect.
Kathy?
Yeah, and I'll be quick. The last time we dropped students, back in, I think it was, what is it, October, we ended up reinstating, I think we dropped about 150, 160, something like that. We ended up reinstating a third of them in very, very quick fashion. So we want to do that again where students have procrastinated, not uploaded their card. I just want to make that clear that we will do everything we can to streamline that process. You know, normally you have to go through this whole big rigmarole to get reinstated into a class. We will just streamline it as quickly as possible and get them back in as quickly as possible.
That sounds good.
Greatly appreciated. And if you could just communicate status updates as we know that information, I think that goes a long way.
Yeah. That's my husband because he's driving home from work and he wants to pick up the Los Agaves. Have I mentioned tonight is Los Agaves night yet? Because it is. Not excited though.
Yeah.
So again, I'll ask a senator to make a motion to adjourn us tonight.
I move to adjourn.
Woo! Do I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ellen and Anna. Any opposed? I don't want to threaten violence on a recorded public meeting. I'm joking. I'm joking. Can we all laugh a little more? Friends, we're done. Good luck these next few days and nights getting your classes together. Bye,
Good luck, everyone. Bye.